All right, let's switch gears here in this video and talk about um, struggling to gain weight. Now, I know a lot of people out there are not trying to gain weight and might even roll your eyes at this. But if you're somebody who, like me, tried to gain weight or you are trying to gain weight right now, like good muscle weight and whatnot, then I feel you. I feel you. So check it out. I just want to share my personal experience. So it's 2024 now. So probably back in 20 probably about 10, 15 years ago. So it was probably about 2010, 2011, 2012 or so. I was trying to gain weight. So I've been pretty skinny all my life. When I graduated high school, I want to say that I was about 100 and maybe 60 pounds, maybe 155, somewhere between 155 and 165. I can't remember. And so I wasn't the type. I didn't have like you know just like straight up visible ribs and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't that skinny, but I was probably the next step above that. Body type wise, I was more like the ectomorph, probably with a touch of mesomorph, but like a very, very light touch. So that's why I say, because I know sometimes people are skinny to the point where you can see their ribs like up here in the chest. I was never that skinny, but I was like just one step above that. And so, when I was in high school, I was lifting weights and stuff like that, and I saw some level of gains, but not much, not much. And you know, go through college. One thing I remember my father saying, um, and even others, I think to some degree, they're saying that once you get to a certain age, you kind of gain like your man weight, so to speak, and that was something that I kind of had as a hope, and ultimately, I'm not sure. Maybe that happened to a degree, but it didn't really happen the way I thought it was. But I digress. Let me just keep on going where I was. So even in college, I was doing some weightlifting. I wasn't very consistent, but I was doing some weightlifting and whatnot. But I was still skinny, still, wanting to gain muscle and not able to gain it. And so finally, once I graduated college and I started my career job, my engineering job, a couple years in, I was like, I got on the consistency train. So I was consistent. I was doing weightlifting. Eventually I switched over to calisthenics because I was watching all these videos of people doing, um, body weight workouts and calisthenics workouts in prison or in parks and stuff like that, and being huge. And so I was like, okay, well, yeah, I like calisthenics, and maybe I'll do that. But I just wasn't seeing the gains. I was like, I thought you just lift and then the muscle will come. And then I kind of started to understand a bit more like what bodybuilders do whenever they're gaining weight. I had been kind of loosely following people like Ronnie Coleman and Kevin Larone and Jay Cutler and a lot of them who were like the bodybuilders of that time. I had been following them loosely because of, looking at the muscle magazines and whatnot. And so I realized, these guys have these bulking phases where whenever they're not, whenever they're kind of far out from, competitions and whatnot, then they like will a lot of times really stuff their faces, and they're eating. Sometimes they're eating a lot of junk. Some of them aren't necessarily eating a lot of junk, but they're eating a whole lot of food. They're eating several meals a day. They're eating a lot of protein, all this kind of stuff. And so, and sometimes taking, doing a lot of protein shakes or weight gainer shakes. And so I was like, well, maybe I need to do something like that. So I try to increase my food consumption. Here's the key. I tried to increase my food consumption, but I was trying my hardest not to eat junk. Okay. And so I tried to increase my food consumption. I was eating, I can't remember how many meals a day I was eating, probably at least about 4, and I still wasn't gaining weight. I didn't want to buy, like I was on, like I really didn't want to buy anything processed or anything like that. So I wasn't buying any sort of shakes or anything like that. I was close. I wanted to sometimes because I was like, well, maybe that's what I have to do. And if you ever look at the back of these weight gainer shakes, for example, those things will have a ton of calories. You might have like 1,000 calories of serving, and then you drink that a couple of times, and that'll definitely add to weight. But I was kind of nervous to do that. Just a powder, mystery powder that you just kind of like drink a couple times a day. So that kind of made me nervous, to be honest. So I didn't do that, but you know, I was increasing my food consumption. I wasn't really seeing a lot of improvement. I mean, not improvement, but I wasn't seeing a lot of quote gains in my weight. Um, I think eventually it kind of started to creep up a little bit, but not like I wanted to. Then I made my own weight gainer shake, and so my the it was totally natural, and I put stuff like frozen fruit, orange juice, bananas. Um, I don't know if I put yogurt in there. Maybe I did. I can't remember. And then even also to add some more calories, I would put some olive oil in there. Was it olive oil? Sounds pretty nasty, but it wasn't. I think I didn't put so much in there that I could taste a whole lot. But I would put in maybe a couple of tablespoons of olive oil and mix that thing up because I was trying to calculate how many calories, and so like that I needed to consume, to gain the way I wanted to. And so I was drinking that like once a day and eating all these meals and just really working hard. And I'll tell you, to eat, I started to see my weight creep up, but to eat that much food and always be consuming stuff, that was some tiring stuff. It was tiring. Like I like to eat, don't get me wrong, but I didn't really enjoy that. I didn't enjoy having to be so mindful about eating like that. So, as far as like my weight is concerned, so I think around the time I really started trying to gain weight, I was about maybe 165. And then I gradually got up to 170, and then I got up to 175. And the thing with me is that I kept on plateauing. So I kept on having to think, okay, how else can I add calories? Eating more peanut butter. And I remember one time one of my uncles, he recommended me eating a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and drinking milk and stuff like that. So I may have done a little bit of that. I eventually got to 180. 185. It was creeping up, but it was hard. Every pound I had to fight for. And then finally I got to once I got to like 195, um, it was like I was at a plateau again. And how did I look? Now this whole time I'm lifting, I'm doing a whole lot of calisthenics and stuff like that. And as far as like visual appearance, even though I had gained about 25, 30 pounds or so, it didn't really look that different to me. It's like I did see some level of gains, but I didn't see a whole lot. And now in retrospect, what I believe is that I probably still didn't have quite the volume of strength training that I needed to really see some gains. Um, in other words, like I probably wasn't doing enough sets. Even though I was doing a lot of calisthenics, it also probably was that I wasn't really tiring out the muscles. It would probably be easier to gain a muscle if I was lifting weights where I could do 8 to 10, 8 to 12 repetitions per set. Or at least with calisthenics, I would have to like really, really tire out the muscle. And when I look back, I wasn't doing that. I was stopping short of that. So that may have helped me. And I gained a little bit of fat. It didn't seem like I gained a whole lot of fat though. So I got up to 195. So I gained about 25, 30 pounds. I did successfully gain weight. I wanted to be more so like, like for example, just to kind of give you some, ideas. So I'm 6'2", and like for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's 6'2", and when he was in his bodybuilding prime, was he about 230 maybe 230 pounds or something like that? Who's somebody else? I think it's is Michael Jai White. I want to say he's 6'2" and maybe about 240 or something like that. Solid muscle. So I was thinking, maybe get up there and do something like that. And but it just wasn't. I once I got up to, like I say, 195, it was like I was fighting to stay there. And then finally I got to a place where I was like, man, and I apologize for the sun, y'all. It is what it is. But I got to the point where I was like, man, I'm tired of eating all this food. I'm just kind of tired of it. I'm just gonna kind of back off, and whatever I gain naturally, I'm just gonna gain. I'm gonna continue to lift because I like to lift. And the moment that I got off of all that stuff, then my weight went right back down. So it went back down and settled maybe around 170. These days, I'm somewhere between 175 and 180. Now, I've definitely gained weight, and I know my physique looks different than it did back then. And I believe that that has been a combination of weight, muscle gain, because I can see like a difference in my muscles, and then also a little bit of fat loss too. But the main thing is that I have been very consistent with my working out for years, and just generally eating until I feel full. Like, one thing I've just kind of like resolved with myself, one, I don't really want to strive anymore to gain a certain amount of muscle. Um, as except for on the strength training side, I enjoy that. That's like a hobby of mine. So I'm gonna continue to push with that. As far as like the eating and stuff, I'm also not a big fan of eating so frequently because I think it's not really good for our digestive system. And if you notice, even now, sometimes I talk about fasting, which is the polar opposite. But I make sure I eat, you know, that I don't, go hungry and whatnot, and that I try to eat balanced meals. I try to eat pretty healthy meals and whatnot, and I just kind of leave it at that, y'all. I just kind of leave it at that. I don't eat an excessive amount of protein. Um, I don't do that kind of stuff. I just eat. I just eat for health, and I lift and whatnot. And I do see, like I say, especially with the volume I'm doing now, I am seeing more gains. And so I say all that to say this: if you are a hard gainer and you're wanting to eat to gain weight, you can do that. I did. Like I said, I gained about 25 pounds. However, don't underestimate how much you have to do. Okay, it's a challenge for sure. You can do it. I'm not discouraging you from it, but just understand you might have to eat a whole lot, and don't do the junk food route. It's just not worth it because you'll gain a whole lot of fat, and then you'll be kind of putting all this kind of filth inside of your system. And so, to me, that's not really worth it. So don't eat a whole lot of junk. Just be prepared to eat, 4, 5, 6 meals a day. You need to probably drink some of your calories like through like some sort of weight, your own homemade weight gainer, something like that. You know, a lot of, a decent amount of protein, use stuff like peanut butter and, healthy oils, and carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates, bananas and potatoes, sweet potatoes, all that kind of stuff. Like, but you got to understand, you really have to be prepared to eat and eat a lot. But I also would encourage you to like kind of have breaks too, because your digestive system needs a break. Like I say, a lot of the research I've done these days, I don't really believe now in just like constantly eating. I think that we already do that as a society, and I think that that's like a form of overindulgence that is kind of causing us a lot of health problems that we have. Anyway, if you have questions based on my experience with trying to gain weight, put them in the comments because I would love to kind of answer your questions, kind of see what kind of struggles y'all dealing with, and you know, help if I can. All right. As we get older, it becomes increasingly important to maintain and build muscle. Muscle helps you burn fat, stay mobile, and can contribute to longevity. However, many people have no idea how to work out to build muscle. My mini workout series on Patreon provides you with my body weight mini workout video library. These workouts use little to no equipment, which means that you can do them in the privacy of your own home. They start at beginner level and progress from there to ensure you continue to see results. Every workout is a full body workout, hitting chest, back, legs, and glutes, as well as other muscles in between. Become a patron today and receive access to my series of mini workouts, plus access to a digital copy of my book, 8 Weeks to Transform Your Diet and Your Health. By combining the workouts with healthy diet changes, as outlined in my book, you'll definitely be on your way to weight loss, improved health, and visible results. Join me at patreon.com/SeanB2B Fitness today.